Doing it.
I'm gonna go. That's it. Done.
I think that was a good win.
And you were in here
It's not much warmer down here than it is in the office.
No, it is
A little
not.
bit.
So those are two things.
My office has been really cold this week.
From Florence.
from the wind. It's blowing out here.
I had somebody in my office yesterday go, why have you not upgraded this building? And I said, what do you mean? He says, your windows are all single pane. I was like, do you know what that would cost? Wouldn't that be beautiful?
Paint murals. Pretty good.
Call this meeting of the Fremont County Board of Commissioners to order. Good morning, everyone. If you would please rise and let's join for the invocation, Joe Garkovich from the Mercy Today Ministries, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we thank you for blessing us with another day in which to serve you. As we gather to do this important work for the citizens of Fremont County, we pray for your blessings on all that we say and on all that we do. And we ask for wisdom, clarity, and courage to make the right decisions for all that are involved. And all these prayers we send to you in Christ's name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Joe. Roll call, please.
Commissioner McFall.
Present.
Commissioner Bell.
Present.
Commissioner Payne.
Present?
County Attorney Jackson.
Present.
County Manager Bryant.
Present.
Planning and Zoning Director Garrett.
Present. All right, first order is the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I am unaware of any changes we need to make to today's agenda, so I move to approve as presented.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Motion carries.
On to the consent agenda. We'll point out that we are scheduling a public hearing for November 12th at 10 o'clock, and that is for the proposed 2020 Fremont County budget.
That, Mr. Chair, make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, on to administrative and informational. We'll start with the County Clerk's monthly report. Mr. Grantham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The total motor vehicle fees, sales tax, and recording fees collected for the month of September this year are $1,164,959.48. Fremont County's portion for disbursement is $676,479.41, which is a 58% of the total fees and is a $81,782.72 more than last year in September. Year to date, our office is up $259,895.29 from the previous year.
A very nice sum of money.
It's always good when it's up from the previous year.
It is always good. We were just discussing before the meeting started. It's fortunate for every agency that we pay taxes to that goes up, because it's not only Fremont County. We actually keep a very small portion of that. Most of it gets dispersed to others. So with that, Mr. Chair, I move to accept the County Clerk's monthly report.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to accept the County Clerk's monthly report. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, we have the County Manager's report. Ms. Sunny Bryant, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Sunny.
So just a couple of quick items. As discussed in the consent agenda, we are scheduling the public hearing for the budget. So the proposed budget will be available on the county website starting either late this afternoon or early tomorrow morning. And we also have a copy in the administration office upstairs, so anybody that's interested can come in and review that information. And then we will have the public hearing on the 12th of November. We are finalizing the GOCO grant, so the county is applying for the Great Outdoors Colorado grant. The grant is $350,000, and we're hoping to use that as a portion for a pavilion-type facility at Pathfinder Park. The hopes is to make a multi-use facility so we can eventually move the county fair to that location and then have other various events throughout the year there as well. And then along those lines, we're actually in the process of preparing a DOLA grant application for a formal community center in that same facility. And so it will be available for rental and for use, and as well as having the facility for the county fair to be moved out there as well. So those are the two projects that we're working on right now in addition to the budget.
All right, thanks, Sunny. Now on to the sales and use tax report.
All right, and so we have received the retail sales tax collections through the month of August, and in August we received $542,948, which is up $85,176 from August of last year. Year to date, we are up $476,000, which is quite a bit. We're going through and doing the audits on all of that, and the majority of that is due to the online sales tax change that was required starting this year. And so we are definitely seeing the benefits from that coming in. The auto use tax collection, as Clerk Grantham indicated, we this month we're up. So it was $3,767 is the impact that we had collected from there. So our collections were $94,698. Year to date, we're actually slightly down just because last year was such a large year for the auto use tax collections. And so with comparison to budget, we're still up about $40,000 from where we had budgeted this year. The construction use tax collections in the month of September came in at $19,355, which is down $7,217 from last year. But year to date, we're up $93,635. And then on to the lodging tax. So the this is in between the quarterly remittals, but we still received $5,536, which is up $94 from last year. And year to date, we're up $7,705. And then on the sheriff's retail sales tax collections, we received $361,966, which is up $56,784. And year to date, we're up $317,846. The auto use tax collections came in at $63,132, which is up $2,511 from last year. And year to date, we're down $17,280. And last, the sheriff construction use tax came in at $12,871, which is down $4,843 from last year. And year to date, we are up $62,519. So overall, we are doing very well. We are still being very conservative going into next year's budget and making sure that we're watching these numbers.
So it's going to get kind of interesting the next couple of months, I think, with the amount of Amazon that's going to be shipped here and the taxes that we collect from that. It's going to make a huge difference. Remember that today. You don't need anything from Amazon today. Hopefully my wife is listening. She's probably not, but. Okay, thank you, Sonny. We'll move on to other elected officials. Mr. Grantham.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention ballots were mailed out last week, so if you haven't gotten your ballot after this meeting, come go to my office and come talk to us. If you are not registered to vote, by all means, come up to my office as well, or go online to govotecolorado.com, and you can get registered to vote and get your ballot. Just remember that the ballot envelopes need to be signed before you turn them in, or we'll send you a nice letter saying, come sign your ballot, so you get to see me twice, which I don't mind. But just in a serious note, we have a right to vote, so please express your right to vote. And we appreciate it when all those ballots come back in. So thank you.
And the actual election day, what are your hours?
Election day, we actually open our drop-off boxes, which are in Penrose, Cotopaxi, and one in Florence, as well as here. We'll open those here next week. our VSPCs will also open. They'll be open next week, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, Saturday, 9 to 1. And then the following week, Monday before the election, 9 to 5, and election day will be 7 to 7. So,
And you can only do one or the other. No ballot and vote. You got to do one or the other.
preferably, yes, vote one ballot. And Dwayne, I'm now watching you.
Don't vote early and vote often.
All right, thank you. All right, I'm sure Commissioner Bell has a word or two.
Doesn't she always? First, I just would like to thank our clerk and recorder for the reminder about elections. I'm wearing my vote counted sticker because I went and voted just this morning. So I also would urge every person, even if you think the election is not an important one, every single election is important, and it is important that you make your voice be heard. So having said that, Mr. Chair, we have a resident of Fremont County that I would like to just verbally recognize this morning. Nancy Bartkowiak is a registered nurse at St. Thomas More Hospital. Nancy is being recognized as RN of the Year for the Emergency Medical Services Association of Colorado. And she will be presented with this award in just a couple of weeks up in Keystone at a state conference. This is a really great award. Obviously it's a statewide award won by someone locally here, and I think it's very, very well deserved. So I just wanted to say congratulations, Nancy. Job well done, and thank you so much for representing all of Fremont County so very well.
Absolutely, congratulations. Commissioner Payne.
I don't think I have anything today. We'll just move it on.
Okay, I got a couple of things. One, just kind of an update on the Decker fire. As you know, burning mostly in Chaffee County, but some in Fremont County. It's just a little under 9,000 acres. They do say they have it 35% contained. County Road 49, which is in the very west edge of Fremont County, it actually starts out off Highway 50 as Chaffee County 101 and turns into Fremont 49. They have been evacuated for 19 days. They were able yesterday at 1 o'clock to go back into their homes. They are still under pre-evacuation as well as part of Howard. There was one home lost up there early in the fire. It was an ember that jumped and caught one house on fire and did burn that. Other than that, there was one structure in Chaffee County, and that's it, besides maybe a couple of outbuildings. But there's been no injuries, which is great. There's probably around 800 firefighters on this fire up there. It is burning in the wilderness, which they have to let that burn. We won't get into that. That's a whole different topic. But they are trying to protect private property as much as possible. The winds are not helping, but they're doing a great job at it. So I appreciate all those Type 1 crew firefighters that are up there. They did switch Type 1 teams. There was a team in here they can work 14 days and then they have to take time off. There was a team that went about 16 days, but another Type 1 team came in and took over on Saturday. So we do have a new team, but they're just continuing where the other team left off and doing what they can with this fire. They did get a little snow up there the other day, which is going to help, and then probably some more coming up this week, but it's going to take feet of snow, I think, to put some of that fire out. There's so much fuel up there. So kudos to them. One other thing, we get reports once in a while, or once a quarter, from some of our departments. We got a quarterly report, which is the third quarter, from our Department of Transportation department. It's just kind of some interesting stuff. People realize, or don't realize possibly, how many miles of roads that our Department of Transportation takes care of. We have just under 600 miles of road that they maintain. Around 352 miles of that are unpaved or graveled, and 217 or so are hard surface, meaning chip seal or paved. Just in the third quarter alone, on grading and resurfacing of the gravel roads, $455,000 was spent. Some of the drainages, they always have to keep the culverts clean, the cattle guards clean, stuff like that. There was $88,000, a little over $88,000 spent. This is all in the third quarter. Also, pothole repair, there was $18,000 spent, and then chip seal and overlay, which was just under $500,000, $466,000. So that's how much money, and you relate that to labor as well. These guys are out there all the time working on our roads, and it's hard to keep up with them. I know there's some frustrations. The weather doesn't help with that as well. When we get the dry conditions like we've had, the roads just kind of fall apart with the traffic that's on them, and it's hard to keep those dirt roads maintained. But they are out there working diligently, trying to keep up on those roads. And if anybody has a problem, let us know about those, but be patient. They'll be getting to them. All right, does anybody have anything else? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to citizens who wish to address the commissioners on matters not on the agenda, and we have George Story.
Morning, George.
Good morning, George.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm George Story. I have a pretty good speech prepared for all you ladies and gentlemen this morning. There is definitely a link between achieving your goals and number one, good nutrition, number two, a good education, and number three, good immunizations. Number one, a good nutrition is a good breakfast, a good lunch, a good dinner. A good education is grammar school, middle school, high school, 2-year college degree, 4-year college degree. Number three, good immunizations are flu vaccine, tetanus vaccine, shingles vaccine, pneumonia vaccine. And I sure appreciate you letting me speak, and I know these ladies and gentlemen working on our roads are doing all they can, and good luck to everyone, and everyone have a happy Halloween.
Thanks, George.
Thank you, George.
All right, that's all I had for that, so we will move on. We have no old business for consideration. First item on new business is pretty exciting, actually. Those of you that have read the papers or know anybody in the high school bands probably already know this, but those of you that don't, we've had 2 Fremont County high schools that did pretty well in competitions last week in the regionals. Canyon City High School and Florence High School marching bands went to regionals and took first place in their respective 1A and 3A schools. So we've asked them to be here today, and it looks like we've got folks from Canyon and Florence. Both of you guys would all come up to the podium, please. We have, I hope these names are right, from Florence we have band directors Dave Woods and Justin Nelson, and Maya Ramirez and Emily Reeder, drum majors. Gentlemen, you can come up too. You're as much of this as they are, I believe. And then from Canyon City, we have Daniel Wiley, he's the director. And we have Grace Baxter, Alyssa Howard, and Emily Johnston. Is that right? All right.
Welcome. We're really glad you could all be here this morning. Thanks for coming.
So, who kind of wants to tell us what happened this last week? To start with, before we do this, what we have up here.
Everybody point fingers. All right.
All right.
Hi, I'm Alyssa. Basically, this whole marching band season, we've been working really hard. Our theme of our show is Learn to Grow, and we just, it's kind of amazing. We actually just got some of our final props, our final flags, our final visuals that we're adding, and it's kind of amazing that we put those together and we got to perform them at regionals, and it got us to a first place ranking. So Harrison is like one of our biggest competitors in 3A, and they've been ahead of us every competition by about 6-ish points. And we actually got to jump ahead of them by 0.25 points during regional, so that was just super exciting, also super nerve-wracking experience for us, but it's been really amazing, and we're still rehearsing. We actually just finished our band rehearsal this morning, so
Nice.
we're still rehearsing, and we're up in Grand Junction the 3rd through the 5th, I think. Yeah, and that's when it's going to be, so we're really excited for that.
And that's the state competition.
Yes.
Right?
Awesome.
All right. Florence, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'm Maya, and so we performed our show. We did have some obstacles that we actually overcame, and even our props weren't set how they usually are, but even with those obstacles in the way, we still took first by a point, around 1.1, and that's actually pretty amazing because we beat bands that we haven't even thought about this year. So that was pretty amazing and such a big accomplishment for our whole band.
That is amazing. That's awesome. Congratulations to all of you.
And you're headed to state now as well, correct? All right.
At the same time, I assume, right? Grand Junction. All right. So what we have is a prepared proclamation honoring both of these high schools. And Maya said she would read it for us.
Fremont County Board of Commissioners Proclamation, Fremont County High School Marching Band Day. whereas Fremont County is a community that values and supports our youth and that their pursuits of excellence through extracurricular activities. And whereas Fremont County is a community that enjoys celebrating the achievements of our youth and the hard work and dedication it takes to accomplish these achievements. And whereas to Fremont County High Schools competed in the Colorado Band Masters Association Southern Regionals competition on October 16, 2019. And whereas the Canyon City High School Tiger Pride Marching Band took first place in the 3A Division Southern Regionals competition against 6 other schools and is currently ranked 3rd in their division in the state. And whereas the Florence Howling Husky Pride Marching Band took first place in the 1A Division Southern Regionals competition against 4 other schools and is currently ranked 1st in their division in the state. And whereas both marching bands have qualified and will compete at the state competition on November 4th and 5th, 2019 in Grand Junction, and whereas on October 26th at Canyon City High School, both bands will co-host the Fremont County Showcase, a send-off event where they will present their 2019 field marching shows for all of Fremont County. And now, therefore, let it be proclaimed by the County Commissioners of Fremont County that October 26, 2019 is hereby designated as Fremont County High School Marching Band Day. The County Commissioners do urge all citizens of Fremont County to continue to support and celebrate the hard work and dedication these bands have demonstrated.
All right, thank you.
Good job.
That's pretty incredible, and congratulations each and every one of you. I can't even begin to imagine how much hard work has gone into doing this, and I just want you all to know we're really, really proud of you. So with that, Mr. Chair, I move to accept the Fremont County High School Marching Band Day proclamation.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to accept the Fremont County Band Day proclamation. Is there any further discussion? I do want to point out one point, that October 26th, at Canyon City High School, both bands will perform their routines getting ready to go to state, so we do encourage everybody to go watch.
And what time?
You guys. Yeah, what time is that? 4:30? And it's out on the football field, I assume? Yeah. All right. Citizen Stadium. All right, so we encourage everybody to go check you guys out and give you a good send-off and give you good wishes. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, we'd like to get a picture with you guys, all right?
Scooch a little bit closer. Maybe stand sideways. So you guys, yeah, there you go. Oh, okay. Okay. Do a couple here. Okay. Here's
Thanks. I'm going to try to cut Tim out, if that's all right. Just kidding, Tim. Thanks, guys.
Good luck. All right, so once again, congratulations to those kids, and good luck, and congratulations to the band directors too. I'm sure they put a lot of hours in on this as well, so good job. All right, the second item today is World Polio Day proclamation. We have Mr. George Small here, who's a Canyon City Rotarian. Good morning, George.
Morning, George.
Good morning.
Everyone?
So what exactly is World Polio Day?
Okay. Do you want me to expound on that? Are we going to read the proclamation, or it'll tell me how long to talk?
I think Commissioner Bell is going to read the proclamation, but if you would like to talk about what it is.
Sure. In 1988, Rotary took upon itself a world project to eradicate polio in the world. This would be the second disease ever to be eradicated, smallpox being the first. They thought that would be about a 10-year process. We're now 31 years into it. At that time, we started with about 400 cases per year of polio. And it'd be interesting if any people in the room would raise your hand if you know someone or have a relative who had polio, if you're familiar with it. Okay, we do have some. And so that was a pretty big scourge at the time. In 2018, there were 29 reported cases in the world. So you can see what an effort that has been. That's not completed. We've had a flare-up this year. There are out of 126 countries that it's been eradicated. We have 2 left. That's Afghanistan and Pakistan. And of course, you know the political implications of trying to do something in those countries. But still, it's been a major effort. So if polio is not eradicated in 10 years, as many as 200,000 children would be paralyzed from this disease. With the participation of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the effort financially has been increased because every dollar contributed to Polio Plus is matched by $2 from the Gates Foundation. So that's been really a big boost. On October 24th, which is World Polio Day, the Global Commission for the Certification of Poliomyelitis Eradication will be announcing the eradication of type 3 polio. Now, type 2 polio has already been eradicated, so that only leaves type 1 polio to be combated, and those vaccines are being modified so that they don't have to deal with the other 2 types of polio. So Rotary's not stopping at this point. We've got a long ways to go. They will immunize about 400 million children a year, and to see an immunization day, they can immunize as many as 1 million kids a day, and you can imagine the logistics of trying to do something like that. Keep in mind also that polio vaccine must be kept cool, and so being able to transport that into some of these areas in Afghanistan and Pakistan, keep it cool, and then to muster the volunteers is just an amazing effort. Not many people think about it until we have an issue like vaccination falls in this country, like the measles, for example. And so we also have the public, what do I want to say, communication in terms of people that say, well, vaccines are not effective, they cause other kinds of issues and so forth, and that's also an uphill battle to do. So October 24th is Polio Plus Awareness Day, and so we take this opportunity to build awareness mostly and also to do fundraising to support the effort. So I thank you guys for doing this and helping us provide that awareness of polio, and it still exists.
That's some numbers that I would have no idea about. That's pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing, aren't they? Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
So anybody that's interested in participating, and that's not just Rotarians, Rotary.org is a location that people can make contributions. Good opportunity in memory of some of those people that you know that have had polio.
Okay, turn it over to Commissioner Bell.
All right, Mr. Chair, as a fellow Rotarian, I belong to the Florence Rotary Club.
Right.
I'm really happy that you brought this forward today, and we have an opportunity to do this. So I will read the proclamation. Whereas Rotary is a global network of 1.2 million neighbors, friends, leaders, and problem solvers who unite and take action to create lasting change in communities across the globe. And whereas the Rotary motto, service above self, inspires members to provide humanitarian service, follow high ethical standards, and promote goodwill and peace in the world. And whereas Rotary in 1985 launched Polio Plus, and in 1988 helped establish the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, which today includes the World Health Organization, United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, UNICEF, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to immunize the children of the world against polio. And whereas polio cases have dropped by 99.9% since 1988, and the world stands on the threshold of eradicating the disease. And whereas to date Rotary has contributed more than $1.9 billion and countless volunteer hours to protect more than 2.5 billion children in 122 countries. And whereas Rotary is working to raise an additional $50 million per year, which would be leveraged for maximum impact by an additional $100 million annually from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And whereas these efforts are providing much-needed operational support, medical staff, laboratory equipment, and educational materials for health workers and parents. And whereas, in addition, Rotary has played a major role in decisions by donor governments to contribute more than $8 billion to the effort. And whereas there are 2 Rotary clubs in Fremont County and 3,000 Rotary members in more than 57 clubs throughout District 5470 in the southern 2/3 of Colorado that sponsors service projects to address such critical issues as poverty, disease, hunger, illiteracy, and the environment in their local communities and abroad. Therefore, the Fremont County Commissioners do hereby proclaim the 24th of October 2019 as World Polio Day in Fremont County and encourage all citizens to join us and Rotary International in the fight for a polio-free world.
All
All right. With that, Mr. Chair, I move to approve the World Polio Day proclamation.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the World Polio Day, October 24th, 2019 proclamation. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, George.
All right.
Thank you for your
Thank you,
work.
Thanks so
George.
much.
Thank you.
Get a copy for him.
George.
All right, just in time for 10 o'clock. It's 10:01, but we have a public hearing scheduled. So, George, thank you. We have a public hearing scheduled for amendments to the Fremont County zoning resolution to allow for limited wineries and agriculture forestry, agriculture farming and ranching, agriculture living, and agriculture rural zone districts. So we'll start off with a staff report, please.
Okay, good morning. So I was approached by a few individuals that kind of kickstarted this, and so what we're looking at is to allow limited wineries in the, agricultural forestry zone district, agricultural farming and ranching, agricultural living, and agricultural rural zone districts with some stipulations. One being no more than 100,000 gallons of wine is made. The structures cannot exceed 5,000 square feet. The sales room and tasting rooms would be limited to 750 square feet each, or 1,500 combined, and that off-street parking adequate is provided.
Okay, commissioners, any questions at this point?
No.
Yeah, I would just ask, Sean, if what we have before us today actually is the 750 square feet with 1,500 max, or if we would need to make a motion to change what has been presented to us.
It should be 750 is what's being
Okay,
presented.
just clarification, thank you. Okay,
I'm sorry, say that again?
It'd be 750 square feet.
Okay. Okay, any further questions or comments from commissioners? All right, so this is a public hearing, so I will open a public hearing. This is opportunity for those who wish to comment on this. Now is the time, right? To start with, we have Justin Jenkins. Good morning.
Good morning.
good morning.
Thanks. I'm Justin Jenkins. I'm here with my wife, Susanna. We have Jenkins Farms in Penrose, so it's if anybody's not familiar, we do you-pick apples, make fresh cider, things like that. Part of what we want to do to kind of add some sustainability to our business and other businesses in the area is to add a winery. When we approach the idea of doing this, it's quite burdensome to go through the special review use process, and so it kind of led with working through the planning zoning office and with the planning commission to look at this avenue of allowing it, or making it as an allowed use to encourage this throughout the county. So I did a presentation to the planning commission back in June. I have just kind of a couple highlights I'd like to pull from that. I don't want to kill you with PowerPoint over this whole thing. So a few of the things is I talked to a lot of people in doing this, a lot of research. One of them, big places, is Mesa County. So when I kind of started talking about this, the big thing we heard about was impact. We wanted to know positive and negative impacts. And in the presentation, I wanted to present both sides of that. Felt it was important that we kind of tackle everything and get it right the first time. So I spoke with Greg Moberg, who is the principal planner at Mesa County, which is basically the Palisade area. So most people are fairly familiar with Palisade and the wine culture that's happening over there. It's a great little place. Some of the highlights from that is they don't really receive any complaints in regards to agritourism, and it's particularly the wineries. They haven't done any formal studies as far as the impacts, good or bad. But in his own words, when I asked him, what those were, what he could tell me on the bad impacts for the presentation, he says there really are none. They just don't have problems with it. He also spoke very highly of the concept that there's a lot of people that come into town for weekend or overnight trips. They contribute a lot to the economy, and then they go home. They have lodging, they have the wineries, the different things, the restaurant, everything is booming from that. So he spoke very highly of the initiative. And then pulling some information from the Colorado Wine Industry Development Board, they did a presentation through VINCO in 2014, so it's a little bit dated data. But the long and short of this is there's a multiplier, and it's kind of on a scale of the size of the winery. But anyway, so of the dollars that each winery produces, the multiplier is anywhere from 1.68 was the top, and we were on the lower end on the size, which was 1.532 economic impact. So basically what that looks like based on just some estimates from what we project, and we're hoping to have this going for this fall a little sooner, so we're going to miss our 2019 marks, but we'll use these numbers. So we were hoping to sell 500 gallons of wine, which is about 2,500 bottles or 208 cases. So the 2,500 at $16.68, which is the average per bottle cost of Colorado wine in 2012, would be $41,700 to us, added to our business. Using the economic impact for the local economy of the 1.532, that's $63,884.40 just to the local economy. And that's from just our winery alone. I did speak with some of our neighbors, kind of the people that were directly affected by us, even though this is a countywide initiative. I wanted to kind of see what our people that thought of, and we've been established for 10 years of their other business. I do have some copies if you guys would like. I brought 3, just a little petition thing that I made up, asking some of the local neighbors. I had no objections at all. Honestly, we were hoping to find some negatives out there just to kind of get some feedback from that side, and we didn't. I'm sure obviously you could go countywide, you'd find some, but at least the folks that are familiar with us were happy with that. One other real quick thing on it, we had some neighbors down the road are doing a vineyard, and Sean and Alexis Kaufman, they planted about 1,450 vines last year. They're hoping to start bugling elk vineyards with the winery sometime in the next 3 to 4 years once the vines mature. Sean was going to be here today, but he's an officer up at Fort Carson, and they had a unfortunate incident yesterday, and he was unable to come, but I do have some numbers for them. So their projection, they have 1,440 vines planted on 2.5 acres. Their estimated yield is 6.25 tons of grapes, which should yield approximately 970 gallons, which would make 600 cases of wine or 3,600 liter bottles. Went. So those numbers equate to the long and short of it, just for their revenue of that would be $57,000. So you could take that with that multiplier, and you can obviously see it's a pretty sizable impact for our local community.
That's
All right.
Okay. Any questions for, oh no, it's a public hearing, right? Okay. So I will note that we did receive 3 letters from individuals, probably in your neighborhood, but they were all 3 in favor of this also, and feel that it would be a great economic impact and not a negative impact. If there's anyone else that would like to speak on this topic, now is the time.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Justin.
you.
Thank you, Justin.
Okay, last chance.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Would you please state your name, and then when you get done, fill out one of those for us?
Sure.
Thank you.
My name is Charles Andrew Brown, or Andy, and I own a hard cider company in Denver. And we've been looking at relocating our business and purchasing orchard property to go with our cidery. And I've been looking at properties in Penrose, and I am also on the Rocky Mountain Cider Makers, the board of the Rocky Mountain Cider Makers Guild. And we've secured some USDA grants to research planting cider apple trees in Colorado, what varietals go well. And the relevance is hard cider is a winery license, so that would be covered by the limited winery as well. So I'm interested in planting orchards in Penrose, bringing back some of the apple economy to the area, and bringing business to the area through agriculture. So I have an interest in you guys passing this. So
Okay.
That's
All
all.
right.
That's all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming down and speaking up this
Sure.
morning. We appreciate you being here.
Sure.
Okay, anyone else to speak on this topic? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. And commissioners,
We need a resolution number on
we
this?
will, yes.
I do have a question for Sean first. Reviewing the materials that we have here in front of us, I'm looking at the actual changes to the resolution. I guess there would be additions to the resolution. The last line in each of these 4 different zone districts says limited winery, and then in parentheses it says special review use. Can you tell me exactly what that line means?
Yeah, so we'll add it as a special review use for those that want to exceed the limitations on the building size and that type of stuff. And so
Okay.
if they wanted a 10,000 square foot building, for example, they would have to go through the SRU process.
Okay, thank you. That was not clear to me, so I needed clarification. All right, thanks, Sean.
Okay, yes, we will need a resolution number for this. What?
30.
30, thank you.
30? Okay.
Any other questions or concerns? I see that it takes care of parking, it takes care of all kinds of stuff, so.
Within the resolution, within
yeah,
the,
amendment.
okay. With that, Mr. Chair, make a motion that for resolution number 30, we approve I make a motion to approve the amendment to the Fremont County zoning resolution to allow for limited wineries in agricultural forestry, agricultural farming and ranching, agricultural living, and agricultural rural zone districts.
I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the amendment to the Fremont County zoning resolution in the prospective agriculture zoning districts for limited wineries. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye?
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks for being here and speaking up this morning, gentlemen.
Good
Thank-
luck to you
Good luck.
all. Okay, we will return to the agenda, and we are on number 3, which is EPA Brownsfield presentation, and we have Mr. Dave Laney here, who's from Stantec. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning.
I don't have a PowerPoint, but I do have a handout for
All right,
the commissioners.
thank you. We'll just pass them on down.
My interest in presenting to the commissioners today is related to the support that Fremont County provided about a year ago, well, more than that, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, to apply for an EPA brownfield assessment grant. The grant was awarded in April of 2018, and the money was available October 1st, 2018. So it's been about a year since the money was available, and the grant has been active here in the county. Members of the coalition that was formed to implement the grant include both Canyon City and the city of Florence, as well as the county. And since there has been a year of grant activity, I just wanted to briefly update the commissioners on what's been done during that period of time, because the grant is a 3-year grant and there are 2 more years remaining on it. So the first page here just gives you an overview, again, of the 3-year period and the different activities that are planned. The first year in general is spent defining the direction for the grant and getting the word out to the public about the grant money and the fact that these monies are designated for purposes of assessing abandoned, vacant, and underutilized, as well as contaminated property, for purposes of encouraging redevelopment and reuse. And then the second and the third years, it's more of the same, with an increased activity on doing cleanup planning and trying to get funding to clean up some of the properties as appropriate. It's a $600,000 grant, and there was no matching funds required by the county. So if you turn through the booklet back to the page that says year 1, essentially during the last year, as I mentioned before, we've been working on getting the public acquainted with the grant. We also worked with the county and Canyon City and the City of Florence to identify a Brownfield Advisory Committee that has helped the coalition prioritize which sites get assessed for purposes of reuse and redevelopment and revitalization. Some of those assessments have actually been started and are well underway. There have been 6 properties where we've done phase 1 environmental site assessments in the last year. And some of those properties have also had what we call a regulated building material survey, which is to, in older buildings, to look for asbestos and lead-based paint to facilitate renovation of the building. If you turn to the next page, it says Phase 1 ESAs and RBM surveys and has some pictures on it. These are some of the sites that over the last year we've done work on. The St. Cloud Hotel has had an asbestos and lead-based paint survey. The property owned by Mr. Larry Baker in downtown Florence, was built in the 50s, has had an asbestos survey. Colorado Quarries here in Canyon City, that property has had a Phase 1 environmental site assessment. And the Skyline Steel property off of First Street here in Canyon City has also had a Phase 1 environmental site assessment. And there are 2 other properties in addition to these over the last year that we've done work on. I suspect that in the next year, several of these properties will be redeveloped, renovated, and put back into productive use. So we're anticipating that the county will realize some property tax revenue and some jobs will be created and things like that in the not too distant future. And I hope that a year from now, when we're into the second year of this, or nearing the end of the second year, I can come back and tell you exactly what kind of return on investment there's been. Overall, EPA says that on average, for every $1 of grant money that grantees spend, there's $18 of private investment that comes into the community. And I think on some of these properties, it's actually going to be more than that. So we're hopeful that the next year will be at least as good as the first year, and we'll have more properties assessed. I think if you turn to the page that says Fremont County Site Reuse and Revitalization Program, and has some pictures along the left-hand side, It has a summary of the budget status and the remaining grant funds. At this point, we've spent about 17% of the grant, so about $100,000 on these 6 properties. That means there's $500,000 left, which is enough money to do 6 to 10 additional Phase 1 environmental site assessments, 6 Phase 2 environmental site assessments where we actually collect soil and groundwater samples to quantify how much contamination we might be dealing with. There's also money left to do what we call an area-wide plan to look at several properties in an area that maybe is underdeveloped or has been suffering historically. Right now, Canyon City is using some of the grant funds to do one of these area-wide plans for the riverfront area. So that includes the Skyline Steel property and some of the adjacent properties. They're using some of Stantec's engineers who have experience with floodplain engineering and design to look at floodway elevations to see what can be done in that area that traditionally has not been done because of concerns about flooding. And there's certain things that we think are possible in terms of using new data sets and things like that to encourage, say, a hotel or some other similar use to come into that area. And so I think that's going to be very positive development there. And I think that's all I have at this time, but I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
I do have a question for you, Dave.
Sure.
Thanks for being here this morning. Understanding that the 3-year process was very heavy up front with a lot of administrative type things,
Yes.
organizing the group, the coalition, getting a committee together, the advisory committee, kind of letting people know that this was available and was going to be happening. But still, I have a question about the fact that 17% of the budget has been expended while 33% of the timeline is
Yes.
already gone.
Yes.
So I guess my question would be, is that typical of these kinds of grants? Or
It actually is. We find that the second year is oftentimes the most intensive year, the second and the third year. It just takes time for people to know about the grant. It takes time to get groups set up who can actually utilize the funding and can help communities prioritize which sites get assessed. I think in the case of Florence, for example, they're working with some property owners through some historically contaminated issues from the old refinery there. And once they emerge from that, I think there will be a number of properties there that will come into this program and get assessed. But that's been several years that they've been struggling with that, and they just now, in part because of the grant and some of the things I've been able to help them with, they've convinced some of the responsible parties to work with them to move some things forward on some of those properties. So I think it's fairly typical that the first year is the money is less utilized than the second or third year. So that's not at all of great concern at this point. I think next year we'll see 2 to 3 times as much spending as this year.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to double check. I thought we were in pretty good shape, but this is a wonderful program, and I think it could be really good for Fremont County. So I just kind of needed to know if we need to be doing something that we're not doing to further this down the road.
One of the things that has been done during the first year is we've had public information meetings both in Canyon City and in Florence. During the next year, there'll be some targeted presentations to business organizations, Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Business Associations, things like that. So property owners who may not have attended the public meetings during year one will basically take the message to them directly and I think any support that the commissioners, want to lend to that effort would be great, and we'll be sure to let you all know when those presentations are going to occur in case you want to come and say we think this is a good program. If anyone
Okay,
wants to
sounds good.
participate.
Thank you.
Yeah. So with that being said, I think there's still a lot of folks out there that don't quite understand what it is. So if anybody has a property that possibly had some kind of contamination, whether it was oil, a gas, an old gas station, asbestos, anything like that, that would possibly need to be cleaned up to help, maybe to rent a house again even, or something like that, help with the economy. That's the kind of stuff that we're looking for on this. So anybody that has those kind of properties,
Yes.
need to get in on this.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
I mean, some of these properties have been developed since the late 1800s, and we're finding everything from, like I said, Colorado Quarries, which has been an active business, to the St. Cloud Hotel. We even have a hayfield in Florence that's being, where the property owner thought maybe residential development would be an option for him if he could get, a current assessment showing the condition of that property. So it's just been an agricultural property, but I think this will help give him the information he needs to do something with it.
Right.
All right.
So on the budget, on assessments for like lead paint or asbestos, and then you have the phase 1 environmental assessment for Skyline Steel, are these assessment, do they cost about the same, or is one, the environmental assessment, would that be more? I mean, how do you budget for that?
It depends somewhat on the size of the building. Asbestos assessments are relatively inexpensive. It's like $7 to $15 per sample. If you were to do a phase 1, phase 2 on a property, the cost to do a soil sample or a groundwater sample can be $100, $200 per sample. So it's a significantly greater amount to do the phase 1 environmental site assessments than it is to do the asbestos surveys in general. And again, it depends on the size of building that you're doing your asbestos assessment on. But that's part of the reason, Commissioner Bell, why I think in year 2 we'll see greater expenditure of funds, because we'll be doing soil and groundwater samples on some of these properties, and so the cost will, the expenditures will be significantly more during year 2.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess we should also add that this grant money does not cost the landowner any money. This grant money will pay for all of those tests and the studies of those properties.
Yeah, it's if you were to go to a bank and say, I need to take out some money or get a loan to develop my property, they would ask you for some of these studies to be done. The phase 1 environmental site assessment is something that banks ask for a lot. In this particular case, with this grant program, property owners can get that work done for free. No money out of their pocket. So it's a good program in that regard for sure.
Absolutely. Okay.
So I'd like to just note that we do have information on the county website, so we have a page that's designated for this. So if you're just hearing about this and want to find more information, go to www.fremontco.com. And there's an actual page for this. There's also the site nomination forms that are on there. So if you have a property that you're not sure of, but you would like to nominate, please fill that out and get it to me. I'm the county contact for it, and if you have any specific questions, let me know, and I can direct you to Dave or one of the representatives that can answer those.
Thank you.
Okay.
I had that in my notes to say that, but I'm glad you brought it up, because there's definitely information out there for anyone who wants more or wants to nominate a property.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
Okay, on to item number 4 on the agenda. It's a request for minor subdivision 19-004, the Brown Trust, requesting approval of a minor subdivision. The site is located at the intersection of 8th Street and C Street in Penrose. The parcel is currently zoned agricultural rural and consists of 9.25 acres. Lot 1 will consist of 4.75 acres, and Lot 2 will consist of 4.5 acres. And we have Dr. Bellantoni here this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you all this morning?
Wonderful.
Great. Okay.
I'm going to start. Good morning. Okay, so I'm here this morning on behalf of Mrs. Fisher, and her son Paul is with her today.
Good
And
morning. Thank you for coming.
Mr. and Mrs. Fisher, her late husband and her, Mr. and Mrs. Brown, purchased this property in 1985. It is, as was read, 9.25 acres, and it has a residence and an alfalfa field. And irrigation water is the water source for the alfalfa field. Mrs. Fisher would like to subdivide the parcel into 2 parcels. The lot 1 to the west is proposed to be 4.75 acres, and that is for her alfalfa field. She would like to keep that. What she would like to do is sell the home on lot 2, which is to the east, which is 4.5 acres. So that meets the minimum lot size for the zoning. The neighborhood is single-family residential, has quite a bit of agricultural land, and I have worked through Director Garrett's contingencies. The plat was corrected per his direction. Mrs. Fisher, after this, will sign the statement of authority as a trustor and the cover sheets. I have those prepared. And Mr. Brian Frederickson prepared the deed restriction because the irrigation gate for the west lot, where the alfalfa field is actually located, on the east lot. So we have a deed restriction that allows Mrs. Fisher access to that gate so she can maintain the irrigating her alfalfa field.
So the water shares stays with the land, it's just access to irrigate. Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions at this time?
Not yet.
Staff report, please, Sean.
Okay, so the department has reviewed the application and found it to be a complete and true representation of the request as stated herein. All requirements of the Fremont County subdivision regulations will be satisfied. As Angela has noted, there is 4 contingencies, corrections to the plat, the statement of authority, the deed restriction for lot 2 for the irrigation, and the closure sheets.
So those things have all been taken care of?
Well, she said they haven't. He said
I
they
had them in my possession, and Mrs. Fisher's here. She lives in Springs.
Okay.
So she came down, and we're going to have those signed, and I'm going to take them upstairs as soon as we're finished.
So they will still be.
So they need to continue to be contingencies. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any further questions?
I don't believe so.
Looks like it's pretty straightforward, actually. Okay, wishes, commissioners?
We need to, oh, I guess we don't, do we? Nope, I'm done. So, sure, all right. Mr. Chair, you're correct. I think this does look pretty straightforward. I don't see any problems at all with doing what she's asking to do with her land. So I move to approve the Brown Trust Minor Subdivision 19-004.
With the contingencies.
Oh, yes, with all those contingencies, sorry.
Second.
Has been moved and seconded to approve minor subdivision 19-004 Brown Trust minor subdivision with 4 contingencies, which were read earlier. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell?
Aye.
Commissioner Payne?
Aye.
Commissioner McFall?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, number 5 is a request for a conditional use permit 11-001 Canyon Dolomite Quarry, requesting approval for transfer of ownership for the CUP 11-001 Canyon Dolomite Quarry from Rocky Mountain Materials to Canyon Dolomite Quarry LLC. We have Randy Deluzio.
I'd have butchered it.
Good morning. I know.
I'd have butchered it
I must have
worse.
butchered Luzio. All right, Danny. Good morning.
Good
Dan
morning.
Tizak.
Good morning.
Actually, this request, I come before you today, we've actually had the lease on this property for upwards of 7 or 8 years. This is actually a piece that came to my sister and I through my father's estate when he passed away. We've been presented an opportunity to purchase this property, and we believe getting this into local ownership as opposed to having it owned by a publicly traded company out of Chicago makes sense for the community. We have a vested interest here. And so really, this request, same ownership. My sister and I both own Rocky Mountain Landscape. This is just an opportunity to kind of consolidate this property into a single entity that will both own and manage this property. So really, it's just an opportunity to do that, to clean it up.
Okay. Any questions right now, Commissioners?
Nope.
Staff report, please, Sean.
Okay, so as stated, this is for a transfer of ownership of the land. Rocky Mountain Landscaping has been the operator at the site. There's no proposed modifications or anything of that nature. The department has reviewed the application and finds it to be a true representation as stated herein. There is 2 contingencies. We'll need proof of ownership once the closing has occurred, and then also documentation from the state saying that the transfer on their end is approved.
Okay, so it's pretty simply change in ownership.
Yeah.
Basically all it is.
With 2 contingencies.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Chair, looks pretty straightforward, so I'll make a motion that we approve the conditional use permit 11-001 Canyon Dolomite Quarry, requesting the approval of transfer of ownership. Canyon Dolomite Quarry from Rocky Mountain Material to Canyon Dolomite Quarry LLC. Okay?
With contingency
With the
items?
2 contingencies that. Thank you.
All right, I'll second that.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve CUP 11-001 Canyon Dolomite Quarry's ownership, transfer of ownership with 2 contingencies as stated by Sean. Any further discussion?
Nope.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will need a resolution number for that too.
Oh, we need a
Resolution would be 31.
31. Resolution number 31.
31 follows 30. You know, we're right on top of
does.
that.
Okay. All right, the next order of business is we had 2 openings on the Airport Advisory Board, and we sent out notification for letters of interest for that board. We did receive 3 letters of interest and conducted interviews, and of all 3 of those folks, and we have 2 people to appoint to those positions. I guess we got to do these separately, don't we?
I think we can do them together.
Can we do them together?
Same term.
Yeah, it is the same term. These terms are 3-year terms ending in October 1st, 2022. They will serve on the board, and these 2 folks that we are going to appoint are Haley Atkinson and Gordon Grosslight.
So, Mr. Chair, I would say this was a difficult decision for us. The 3rd applicant that we had is very active at the Fremont County Airport. We would like to see him continue that activity, but I believe that the 2 individuals I've settled on in my own mind have more experience, not only at the airport, but they have a lot of real-world experience with FAA and with a lot of regulations and different things like that. A lot of information and knowledge that this particular board does not have, so we lean on them very, very heavily to truly guide us in the direction that our Fremont County Airport should go. So with that, Mr. Chair, I move to appoint Haley Atkinson and Gordon Grosslight to the Fremont County Airport Advisory Board for 3-year terms that will end on October 1st, 2022.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to appoint Haley Atkinson and Gordon Grosslight to the Airport Advisory Board, terms ending October 1st, 2022. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. No further business before us. We are adjourned.